Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're giving it just a couple minutes. You guys are early people, so thank you for being here. Welcome, welcome. As we are getting people on, if you have any questions about the presentation about food issues, go ahead and throw them in the chat so we can scan them, and Michelle will be answering questions, but we just want to make sure we get everybody's questions answered tonight. So welcome, welcome. So for all of you just coming in, welcome. Thanks for being here tonight. If you have any questions, just put it in the chat. And as we go through the presentation, Michelle's going to do her best to answer everybody's questions. Thank you for being here. And we're watching the numbers hop on. We'll give it just a couple more minutes. 6:30 right now. Thank you for being on time. We only have an hour. So I love all these people that are on time. Yay. And I know we'll have some people come in late. I'm just watching until the numbers slow down a little bit. Maybe one more minute. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here. Okay. Looks like our numbers are slowing down. I know we'll have more people join us, but let's go ahead and get started. So thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Beth Burt, and joining us is our wonderful senior resource specialist, Melissa. You want to say hi?
Hi, good evening. My name is Melissa, and I'm the Senior Resource Specialist for the Autism Society, and I'm excited to be here with you guys.
And this is going to be a new support group. So this is the first time we're trying this. And the idea behind it is the first half of this presentation, we are recording. It will be an educational presentation. And then that'll be about 20-30 minutes. And then halfway through, we're going to switch it over to more of a meeting format because we want to hear from you all. Do you want educational presentations? Do you want more of a meeting format where you guys are talking about the issues that impact you? And then we'll end up with what's your topics that you guys are interested in, because these groups are for you. And so we want to make sure we're answering your questions. The housekeeping, before I forget, we do have an interpreter. We ask everybody to go, it's usually on the bottom or the top. You may have to hit your more screen, but there's a globe for interpretation. Check either English or Spanish. That way, if we have any questions in Spanish, you'll be able to hear the Spanish interpreter translate it back into English. And then that way, everybody's hearing the same thing. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat. Melissa and I will be looking at the chat while Michelle's doing her presentation today. And Michelle really wants to answer your questions. We want to make this practical. So if we don't get to your questions today, Michelle's promised that she's going to take some time and answer the questions later. And then tomorrow we will be sending out the recording piece with some of the resources in case you want to see it again or give some resources to somebody else, but that way you'll have all the resources that we talk about today. So I think that's it. Did I forget anything, guys? Nope. Okay, awesome. That's great. Okay, so I am going to introduce Michelle Goodrow, and I'm not going to do her justice. Michelle is not only one of our fabulous board members, She is an exceptional and extraordinary special educator. I wish she was around when my son was in school because she's such a wealth of knowledge and she's got such a heart for our community and a passion. And I love the way she looks at things. So tonight she's going to talk about picky eaters and she's going to talk about her experiences as a special education teacher and some of the things that she's done. I think you guys are in for a real treat. I wish I had these strategies, like I said, when my son was younger. So without any further ado, I'm going to spotlight Michelle, and then Melissa and I will be around in the background, but we're going to let you take it away. So thanks for joining us, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So I'm going to kind of talk about my day. I do teach elementary. Right now I have 3rd through 5th. This is my 25th year. I do introduce foods every day. So I start at breakfast and we going in our tray. So it's very important for in the cafeteria. One of our rules for the cafeteria is to have a fruit or vegetable, which some of our kids is quite a feast. So we start with just putting it on a tray. We have choices. I love choices. I have a lot of visuals. So once we put it on our tray, we'll go to the table if they don't want it at the moment. I have a lot of yes and no's. I'm going to show a lot of my visuals. So when I start with a food, we just start by touching, even if it's to give it to me, to pull it aside, and we're going to deal with another day. I have visuals that I have many different times where I just start by touch. We're just going to touch our food, touch an apple. Maybe it's a pear. We smell, just a quick smell. My turn, your turn. I love choices. I love yes and no's. I encourage any communication that we have. It's something different. We have I like, I don't like with pictures. And I go through my steps. So again, touch, smell, kiss. We made lick and a bite. And I love our Velcro and laminating, which I have everywhere. So once we do a step, we can put it on. If it's too many pictures, I always carry pictures with me, containers, and I may have on our ring each step where we can put it down. For foods, I use apple as an example a lot. A big apple, it's intimidating, it's big, it might be new. So I like to have apple cutters so then I have smaller pieces. So we will hold it. I'll demonstrate my turn and I will touch. I'll kiss. This could take any time. I give as much time as we need. At breakfast, even at the beginning of the year, this could have taken 20 minutes. And now we kind of have our routine down and just introducing as many foods as we can. For other foods, Walmart, 99-cent store, Dollar Tree, you can get a little melon cutter. So for pears, our school has a lot of pears. So instead of having a whole pear and trying to get bite and a lot of different steps on that, I just cut a little piece and just hold, and we go through our steps. Touch, smell, and we go through there. I've tried all the foods with our kids, and I'm very expressive. So I don't like it. If you don't like it, that's fine. Let's try it. I don't like it. It's done. Let's try it again. Another way of visual is giving each step and taking it away or covering it. Anything, if we have laminating, we can mark it off, cross it. Some days it's going to be really difficult, and other days it's just part of our routine for lunch and breakfast. The visuals can be even photographs. I take pictures to even show us trying it as adults, our students. or more visuals? Yes, I liked it. No, I didn't. I want to encourage any communication, pointing, verbal, and it's okay. We don't like all our foods, but let's try it. For fruits or vegetables or even main foods at lunch, I give a lot of choices. I'll hold 2 things up and just give time. I like weight timers. Again, Walmart, 99, Dollar Tree, the little kitchen timers just to wait it out. More visuals, yes and no. Did we like it? Did we not? And just having these visuals is so important. And I get so much communication out, or just that they have an opinion. And I'm going to listen to you, but we're going to try it. But it's okay, you don't like it, but let's try it. I introduce foods all day long. I make it part of our lessons. One thing this year that we've really tried is national days, where there's a lot of food days. So we like to introduce new foods. We'll give menus. This one's marked up where we had a holiday party and just showing what people were bringing and giving X's that he didn't like it, just having it on their plate. And let him have his say. Even for it, we do a lot of recipes and introducing foods that way, ingredients. And they can go into our area, maybe our kitchen, and just finding different foods. I just have our recipes. I get visuals. Everything I have are visuals you can cut out of a grocery ad and just having pictures that way. One of our things we'll be doing tomorrow is making a green juice because it's green juice day. And just introducing our foods, carrying it from the refrigerator in a package. Our kids may not even want to try it, but they love following the pictures to get it and be a part of it. And seeing each one in the recipes to make it and be a part of it and making it. And just the smell again, smell, touch, kiss. Sometimes what we'll do is, even if you have your visual again of the things that they have options for lunch, whether they bring lunch, we'll have extra choices and we put them on a visual. And we can even have the packages of the food if we don't have this program with us and marking it. We tried it, we left it on our tray. And I always say to start very, very small and small steps. The beginning of the school year, I want to learn my students. I want to learn their interests. What are their likes? What are things that they may not want to even try? And then we'll just start by putting it on our tray, putting it on the table, setting it in front of them, just to get more familiar. So we introduce foods all the time. Many of my students are not going to even want to try anything new, but they will. It's days, months, sometimes the whole school year, but they will be a part of it and they will try. Beth, I saw your picture. Did you have something?
No, this is great. So I was thinking a couple things. So I wanted to walk it through. I mean, you and I have had a lot of conversations about this. So let's say you have a new student in your class who is a very picky eater and, you know, doesn't like this stuff. So just kind of walk me through that, like day one, what does that look like? What do you tell the parent? What do you tell the student? You know, so let's say it's, what did you say? Tomorrow's green juice day, right? And
we've had these conversations. So for two different, I'll start with, if I have a new student, I always ask, because we eat in the cafeteria, we go through the line, And the last few years, it's part of their rule. You need to have a fruit or vegetable. So they need to see it on a tray while they go through the line. So I'll ask parents, what are some things they like? What are some things they do not? What are some things that you want us to try to get them to, I guess, just try. That word try is used a lot. So we will there's always choices, and I try to make sure there are 2 fruits or 2 vegetable choices. And I'll hold them out. Sometimes it's as important as they don't want it on their tray because it's just so much. Does that mean I'm going to have to eat it? The expectations. So I may walk right with them, especially with a new student, and I'll hold it and I'll just put it next to them. Sometimes it's a touch. So I might just put my hand out and say, can you give it to me? And I know we had a conversation. I had a student, it was very difficult. And it was an accident and I knocked over, I believe it was blueberries or raisins. I remember it was many pieces and I bumped them and they spilled everywhere. And she quickly picked them up and we threw them in the trash. So sometimes it's just something just to get to touch, give them to me, we're going to put them away. It's a small steps. Other kids will go a lot quicker. Some will be a lot slower. For our green juice day, we just go through the different choices and I've seen such an interest of finding where they're not going to like it. I've heard it's disgusting, but they want to give it to me. So we go in the refrigerator. We talk about the different ingredients that we're going to need to make it. And I've noticed the more we do this as a class and together, the more interest. We had Winnie the Pooh Day and tried honey. Honey, I don't like honey, but we all tried it. I say, my turn. I don't like it. I'm done. Same thing. I'm not going to try it. No way, no how. We kissed it. We did this for about 3 or 4 minutes, had a minor argument. He kissed it and then wanted a second try. And then told me, I don't like it. It's disgusting. So we stopped. So it's just, oh, you're mute.
I am muted. So we have a question. It says, I have a toddler who's a picky eater. Would I present the foods the same way on a tray, or would you just recommend a plate, like a paper plate?
I would do it maybe as a family. If you use plates with everybody, if it's just the 2 of you, if it's a family, similar. If it's maybe too much, a napkin. Even if it's something I've done where it's on maybe the table and I say, oh, I really want that. Can you hand it to me? So now I'm not giving the pressure of them trying it yet. It's just to introduce it and just give it to me. And then I might go to that's the touch. Then I might just, oh, let's give it a quick kiss. And it is the baby steps. Some kids will go faster, some slower, and I just go to their pace.
And you switch different foods, right? Every day. So it's not like I'm doing an apple for a month.
Correct. No, I go with what the cafeteria is offering.
Okay.
And so and I've noted this is my 4th school in the district, and it's pretty similar where there's usually 2 choices of fruits and 2 choices of vegetables. And as a school cafeteria, they say, well, they have to have something on their tray.
Expectation.
The rule is, but so we've tried to honor that. So I may be escorting the apple with them. I just use apple a lot because that is a common.
Right.
Or an apple we've talked, it's just so big and intimidating. How do I bite it? There's so many thought process of this apple. So when I cut it and just maybe present 1 piece. And then it's smaller, you see the white part. I don't like the skin of things. So I try to remember, those things. To bite an apple, it's just so much, or a pear. So there's so many different fruits and vegetables. I try to even look at menus beforehand. We've tried to prep, but changes. There's not always what they say it's going to be. So we just started with, let's see what's there. Here's your choices. Do you want to try this or this one?
Melissa, did you have a question?
Yes, I had a question. Michelle, for your kiddos, I see that you have amazing and awesome visuals prepared. Do you provide those to the families, or is there a place where parents can find those visuals to have at home as well.
Or if it's the same ones that I use, it's a program we use, I will send them home. I was going to tell you, I can send them to you as a PDF. I can do that. But I will make any of those and send home for the holiday parties that we had, and it had all these choices. I sent those home with the markers of how the kids marked it. And we used almost like a menu. We're going to try these. Now, what would you like? And then I would send it home. Any of the recipe I like to send home. Look what we tried today. So for me, I love sending them home because the more that it's used and be on the same page. And I look at ads and even wrappers. We've done that where we just cut wrappers of things. And you can have that as a visual choice also.
Okay.
Perfect. So we'll put that out in the as a resource when we send out the email tomorrow. Thank you.
When you were saying that, I knew
Yeah.
I emailed the things and they're the, do you like? I just double copied these, printed them out, and they can be black and white. And same thing, sometimes our kids just like to cover a check. And I like anything that I can do more than once. If I can work on a little fine motor and writing at the same time as eating, I'm in.
We have a lot of questions about toddlers. Let me see if we can get through some of these. So can I get some tips on toddler picky eating? My child is not signing yet, does not understand my turn, does not have perfect eye contact yet. So just as a note of a parent of a 30-year-old, you may never get perfect eye contact.
Even
Well-
have two actual items. I would start with the actual food items, then maybe even the pictures of it.
Okay, and then they get a choice. And then would you, because it's not a school setting, would you suggest like a reinforcer? So I'm thinking of like maybe their favorite, I'm gonna say Disney video or something on YouTube that they really like. So you can either touch it, kiss it, help me remember all 5.
Touch.
Touch,
I'm trying to find the order. So it's touch, smell,
smell.
kiss. And I always did lick, kiss, bite. And I started introducing the touch and smell because that's just the start. We see it. So now so I've added those in the last couple years. And I've had where we may have a video on, we're going to pause it, touch, and then play it back. Also, we've had this conversation where in the cafeteria, some kids are faster than others. So I have a cart everywhere. I have fidgets, I have books. So they're always doing things too, kind of like what we talk about it at dinner table, even if they're there and they have those things with them and using those. But so reinforcements all the way.
Yeah, reinforcements are good. And I think I made that mistake. I have a picky, to this day is a picky eater, but because when we tried with occupational therapists and we tried with behavior therapy as well, and it was a whole giant hamburger. And even though we picked up the little piece of bun, you and I have talked about this, it's still the hamburger that's sitting on the plate. And I think that's something that as parents, I think that's a great idea, is like, don't give them the whole apple, use a melon ball scooper or just cut it into a small, so when they're touching it, it's not the whole thing, or smelling it, it's not the big thing.
And even without saying my turn, your turn, I've done the very exact, where I take a piece of any food that we might have at that moment and do the big exaggerate kiss and then hand it to the child. I try not to talk a whole lot, but it's because of processing, and then see if they will. High fives, fist bumps, the sillier we are, but a lot when I demonstrate it too, be a part of it. And I don't like some foods too. So I don't like this, but like, we're going to do it one time and go. The honey was the perfect example. The cheese we did yesterday on a cracker for the 100th day. One of my students actually informed me that I had to try it. If they have to try it, I had to. So he was correct, and I had to eat the cheese that I did not like. So we make it a part of our day, and having as much introduced to different things and the recipes and being a part of cooking it, even if they may not try it, they're a part of it. Even handing, if you're making something for yourself and just having a part in introducing foods that way without the pressure of trying it.
Yeah, that modeling too, I think is really important. Somebody else wrote, what if my son is willing to try and eat it, but he won't keep eating more than what he tried? Do you ever see that in your students?
Yes, and then I just keep building onto it. So I honor that, and then maybe the next day, maybe try 2 kisses, and it could even be weeks later. Then maybe I'll introduce numbers to it. Or what I've done is you do those 5 steps, I walk away and come back, we're gonna do it again and go through the step again.
So just keep repeating.
Mhm.
Do you recommend a picky toddler to eat with their hands or utensils?
Honestly, picky eaters, I feel that have what they feel more comfortable with, and we can always introduce that later. It's kind of pick a battle of what you want. If you want to try the foods, I would be fine with hand at first, and then maybe later when they're more comfortable, because then I feel you're doing 2 battles.
Yeah. A lot of our kiddos, because they're a toddler, I'm going to say kiddo, do have fine motor issues and may need occupational therapy or some IEP goals to help work on those fine motor goals. So that's why Michelle's saying don't confuse the fine motor goal with the food goal. They're 2 separate goals. So great advice. I'm going through these. Melissa, jump in.
All right, let me see the next. The next one's actually for a teenager. How do you do this when they are teenagers in the home?
The same thing where it may even just be if it's a meal or a snack, giving even kind of this is what we're gonna try, or I have these 3 options. Let's try one, and I go through the steps. And it may be, if they're beyond maybe a visual, it can even be a written word. It doesn't have to be the pictures like this. I would even write and just kind of a script, or these are the steps that we're going to do.
And next one is, we have a junior in high school and want to introduce more fruits. At the grocery store, we ask him what he wants to try and wants nothing. Should we limit the choices to 2 or 3?
I would say 2 or 3, even if they're not picking, then okay, I'm gonna pick 3 fruits or 2 fruits, and yeah, just go kind of backwards and less choices. Because sometimes it's just a lot of fruits and not really sure.
Yeah. And then also reminding them, right? You don't have to eat it, but you have to do one of the 5.
Mhm. I've just found those steps have been the most successful for us, and we're able to add on later. It's just less pressure, and we make it a part, and it's again a part of our day, breakfast and lunch. And now anytime we do recipes, and it's at least 3 times a day with national days or just something fun we introduce with it.
Yeah.
So it's a part of our day.
And I think that's too, and I mean this in the most wonderful way, you're goofy, right? You exaggerate and you make it fun though, right? I think back when I was doing it, it was that pressure of, eat it, and then you're trying not to look because you're trying not to give it attention as they're gagging, and it just gets to be this whole stressful thing. But if you make it, it's supposed to be a fun thing.
And that's why we started making it other parts of our day. And where I keep talking about our national days, but we make it we do journal writing, we do introduce our foods, we do a recipe. So there's so many other steps to it that we're covering. And they look forward to it, and just finding our ingredients. They've had fun. The pickiest eaters I have are the first ones to go grab those ingredients. They're not going to try them right away, but they like to be a part of it and help make it. And that's been huge. And I've really built on that in the last year.
So this is going to take a little bit of planning on a parent's point of view to be able to maybe come up with a calendar and maybe, I mean, if they can't do it every day, let's say they have a toddler at home
Mhm.
or any age, but maybe we're going to do it twice a week or 3 times a week, but just being very intentional about it. And then just going back through the steps, because it's practice, right?
Mhm.
But what are your 5 steps? You know, pick one.
Yeah, definitely.
What, I have a question. What, like average days does it take? Does it take you like 3 months? Just on average, and every child is different.
Yeah, I was gonna say average. So if I go for this school year, I have 10 students. And the other day asking to try one of our foods, 5 of them told me, no way, no how. But at the end of 20-minute lesson, all 9 at least did the 5 steps. So I've had 3 kids have about 4 new foods that they will routinely eat now. And others that are still on little bites. Now, they also know who, we have other staff. So if I'm around, I'm, as Beth said, a little goofy. So they're more willing to try with me. With others, they'll say no. And, oh, they said, not today. I go over, they kiss it real quick. And I just look. So it's having that rapport in the relationship. They know we're going to sit here. And if it takes us a little more time, it'll take a little more time.
Sounds good. Another question is, how can I tell if my toddler genuinely does not like something versus if the picky eating is a sensory thing?
That's a tough one. I really try to watch body language. I also watch how the expressions of foods they do like. So I try to get familiar with things that I really do feel. I've had some that will try and their expressions really seem like they're okay with it. And then after, if they maybe catch me looking, then I'll see maybe a reaction. Starting real slow with the touch and the smell and maybe not put as much pressure. It's that fine line and just really watching the body language and how they react to foods they do like compared to, is it a new food or it is a sensory? So it's really just really just watching, because it's tough. And I just watch, and sometimes I'll go, let's just go one more. And so I watch. And there are sometimes it's the smell.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It's a huge. So that's what we try to smell a lot of different foods. And then I can kind of get a reaction too.
I just want to say that too, Michelle. Thank you, for pointing that out, because, these sensory differences are real. And just because we don't perceive what an apple smells like or, another piece of fruit, it doesn't mean that it's not 100 times stronger for somebody. So it is important to honor that. And that's why, we're not saying you have to try that food. You've taken the steps and like, okay, let's touch it, let's smell it. So I just want to make sure that, we honor that that's real. Those environmental differences are real.
There's times where I'll see something change, maybe in their expression or how they're trying it. I'll try it. And there are times those apples are just gross. They're just not a good one, or that grape is a little more sour than the other days. So I'll even do that too, because that's when I see a difference. Is there's sometimes bad food, or it's just a little too ripe or not ripe enough, too hard, or that's when we cut it too, we can kind of see if they're ripe. I don't want them to, we're not going to eat a fruit that's bad. So
Right.
I keep a lookout for that too.
Right.
Yeah. And then if it actually is sensory over picking eating, how could they work through it with him?
With those steps being for me in the class or in the cafeteria, I just keep doing those little steps and trying the other foods too. So if it is sensory, trying something else. And I have some that me personally, I don't like certain textures too. So I kind of honor that, let's try something else that we can do instead. Or try again. And then I just keep looking at their body language and how they're reacting. Is it the same reaction? Is it getting better? is it just because it's new? So I go through this every day and as much as I can, just to see what that reaction.
Well, someone said, thank you for what you said about honoring the sensory smell.
Some are very, I try to remember things that we don't like as smell. So we have to remember and step back sometimes and what is the end goal? So you're welcome.
So any tips for older kids, 10 and up, that refuse to try new foods? I have a child that will occasionally vomit after trying new foods when eating a very tiny portion. He loves pizza and chips, but will refuse any vegetables and eats very little fruit.
Or I had kids with that, and sometimes even when I say bite, it's not going to be a huge bite. So those other 4 steps, they're not maybe getting in the mouth. So it's just something very shorter time. These are going to be your choices, or this is all we have. So we're going to do this real quick. So that's, again, just keep going. I've had kids that just the thought of trying a new food is going to make, whether it's the anxiety, that's going to make it more than it's the food. It's just that thought of trying something new has maybe made that reaction. So I just keep introducing, and it could be a very quick, some are going to take a little longer, 30 minutes, and we're doing this a couple of times. Others, it's going to be one time we're done and we're going to try something else.
Okay, and then next question is, would you have meals at the same time every day to help a child stay consistent in trying new food?
I would, for us at school, it's the same time every day. Even if we're doing a recipe, we do the same time. So the consistency might help with knowing what's coming and knowing what's expected. This is the time. And it's not, and sometimes that's not realistic and things change, so that might happen. But if you're able to do that, it would help with the consistency.
And then the approach that you use, is it based on ABA? They're just wondering how their social, emotional is being addressed since their son is really anxious.
I pull a little from here and there. In the cafeteria, I even have other kids in other classes join us. So I try to, so it's not just our class in a corner in the cafeteria or the room. We try to make it where we are, again, honoring your opinion. We're going to go through these. So the anxiety, I kind of wait out. I maybe just one step and come back later to something else, because that's a real thing.
Perfect. Okay, thank you
All right,
so much.
one more
Michelle.
question. I'm going to cut you off. One more question came through. Should
okay.
we still encourage our kids to try a piece of seafood, even if they don't like the smell? Ooh, I don't eat seafood just because of the smell either.
I would say seafood.
Seafood.
I would introduce, I don't like seafood either, but I had someone who pointed out that I am someone who encourages to try food. So I think people use that against me when I don't want to try something. So I have tried it. And this is a good time to I don't like the smell, and seafood for a lot of people doesn't have that smell. So that could be something too, just for a communication piece. I don't like it. You know what? I don't like that smell either. So sometimes that's even just a bonding time.
Yeah.
I will also say, so I'm gonna channel this, is that, be conscious if you have a kid who is sensory defensive, that has some smell issues and taste issues, you probably do want to do more of the milder kind of food. You don't want to do some that is very strong, because again, this is real. And so we need to be sensitive of that. I'm not saying don't do seafood. I'm just saying really think about what that might feel and smell like to somebody who has some sensory differences. And then one more question came in. Do you use these same steps for kids with severe autism?
Yes. Most of my 25 years has been in mod severe autism classes. So that's where it started. I probably have done food for all 25 years. It's always been something important to me, something that you recognize as a difficulty. So majority of my students are autistic.
And we should have mentioned that at the beginning, because I know that it's the mod to severe classes, that tends to be your love and your passion, but I didn't mention that, so I apologize. Do we get one more? Oh, thank you. You're welcome. All right, I am going to turn the recording off. Michelle, thank you so much. This is great. It's not perfect. It's not going to solve everybody's issues, but boy, these are great tips to have, and I can't wait to get the resources.
And I had said, if anything, Melissa, if any emails come to you, I am more than happy to answer any, and then I can send any of the visuals.
Perfect.
Awesome, thank
Okay.
you.
I'm going to stop the recording